Hey guys, Private Jack here. There's been a few questions lately in the discussion group about how do I make sequences, how can I get my guys to walk differently, that kind of thing. Well, our 234 has put in a pretty extensive routine on how to get your TF2 characters to use the animations of another game's player. So what we're going to do with this particular tutorial is just walk through our 234's method and see if we can get it to work. So the portion that we're going to be looking at today is this right here. Okay, it sounds a little confusing and whatnot else, and I had responded, whoa, this is deep, and he came back and said, well, why don't you try and make a tutorial about it and see what you can do with it. So, well, this is the result of his request, and we'll see what we can do with it. Now, since the last update, my Source Filmmaker kind of loads slowly, so I don't know what's going on there. So I've already loaded Source Filmmaker, and we're going to get it up and running here. Now, looking at his instructions here, what we're going to do is we're going to take the Scout and we're going to try and combine the Scout with the HL2, the Half-Life 2 combined walking animation, and we'll see where it goes. So the first thing we have to do is we have to import the Combine Soldier and the Scout and put them side by side. So I've loaded Stage, and I'm going to go and find the Combine Soldier. Okay, there's the Combine Soldier. I'm going to bring him into Source Filmmaker, and now I'm going to find the HWM Scout. And I'm going to bring him into Source Filmmaker. It takes a little while for the Scout to load because he's got a lot more controls and whatnot else than the Combine Soldier does. So we'll just sit here and let the wheels spin for a minute and see what happens. My screen has grayed out, so that means it's thinking quite heavily, and well, I'm going to pause the animation or this tutorial until the animation stops. Okay, it looks like things are ready to rock now. I've got the Combine Soldier and I've got the Scout, but I don't see no Scout. Well, let's just pull the cameras back and have a look. Oh, there he is. Okay, so now what we're supposed to do is put them side by side. So we're going to grab a hold of the Combine Soldier first, go into the motion editor, pull him up, put him on the stage. Now we'll select the Scout, pull him up and put him on the stage. Okay, so now we've got both of them on the stage. Pull the camera back so we can see both of them. Next thing, well, you'll want to move this Combine so his position is more similar to the Scout, with the feet rotated outwards and his arms lowered slightly, etc., etc. So looking at the two models, the arms look pretty much the same. However, the feet do need to be rotated out. So we'll expand the controls on the soldier, find his legs, grab a hold of his left foot, bring up the rotation manipulator, find the right tool. That's not it. Clear that animation. Probably the yellow one. There we go. Grab his right foot. And maybe we'll want to like spread the legs a little bit. So what I'm going to do with this combine soldier is I'm going to see if he'll accept a rig, because I hate trying to move all the bones and whatnot else separately. So I applied the rig, and lo and behold, the combine soldier accepted the rig. So that gives me the ability of moving things a lot easier. For example, I can take his foot now, and when I lift his foot, the whole leg structure moves. I'm going to grab the other foot now. I'm going to get in a little bit closer here now so we can actually see what's going on. If I can push the right buttons. That foot needs to rotate a little bit. There we go. That looks a little better. Arms and legs looks pretty much good. Okay. Let's just take a look on side by side, see if they're in line with one another. Yes, they are, pretty much. Soldier can come ahead a little bit. So I'm going to grab his whole body rig. Bring up the move. Knock the camera out. So I can see that manipulator, pull him ahead just a little bit more. And I think that looks pretty good. Fingers and hands are pretty much in the same position, and the arms look all right. So we've got that step accomplished. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to take and I'm going to remove the rig off the soldier, so that all the bones are separate and he'll move around normally. Now, what's the next step? Next step says, then import the relevant sequence on the combine, in this case the walking animation, but make sure to leave a second or so out of the selection at the beginning of the slot where you do, so that he starts out in his reference position. So what that means is we take time, and we're going to pull time back to about 5 seconds. Then we're going to take and move the playhead over top of the time selection. Now we're going to right click on the combined soldier, and we're going to import a sequence. And what we're going to look for is the walk sequence. I don't want him crouched. There we go. Ho, ho, ho. Oh, no, he's still carrying a weapon. Don't want him carrying a weapon if I can get it. Walk all, unarmed. There he goes. That's it. I want him swinging his arms and carrying down the road just as if he's walking towards the Kmart or something. Okay. I'm not going to bring in any yaw or make him go backwards or forwards. I just want him to walk straight on, right on the spot. Okay? So, what you see down here in the timeline now is the walk sequence. And if we play the head, there he goes. He's walking away. Okay? If I move the playhead off the animation sequence, he goes back into his pose mode. Okay, I'm going to commit those changes by pressing enter. Okay, here comes the fun part. Next is where it really kicks off. You need to use the DAG constraints. Start by selecting both the combined pelvis bone and the scout's pelvis bone, but make sure you do so in that order. So we got to go combine and soldier, open up the body, and find the pelvis bones. So we're going to select the combined pelvis first, and I selected it by clicking the left mouse button on it. I'm going to hold down the control key. Now I'm going to click on the scout's pelvis bone. So now I've got both of them. Right-click the soldier's pelvis bone in the animation set viewer and select DAG Utilities menu. So I'm going to right-click on here, and I'm going to select the DAG Utilities menu. Constraint orient. Okay, so right-click on the pelvis, find the DAG utility, and constraint orient. Okay, now that that's done, right-click again and select DAG utilities and constraint point. Now he doesn't mention whether or not these things have to be selected again, so I'm going to select them again anyway. So it was the pelvis and the pelvis, and we'll give this a try. Right click again, go to DAG utilities and constraint point. Now you have to do the same thing on every bone of the spine, neck, head, arms, legs, hands, feet, etc. Only use orient constraints on these, not the point constraint. So that means for every bone that is in the combine that we can match up with this scout, we have to go through and do that. So the spine, and I'm going to assume it would be spine 0. Right click, DAG utilities, constraint orient. Spine 1, spine 1. Right click, DAG utilities, constraint orient. Spine 2, spine 2, DAG utilities, constraint orient. Now I'm going to go into time lapse here, hopefully, if I've got it set up right, and I'll come back in and finish the tutorial when I'm finished doing all these constraints. Before I do that though, what I need to tell you here is one thing that you might want to try before you carry on with anything is find a free space in the element, the animation set editor, right click on it and show hidden controls. That's going to add a few more bones and whatnot else to both of the bodies. And the other thing is if you notice up here in the combined soldier's body, there is no head or neck or a third spine or whatnot else, okay? If you come down here and open up his unknown bones, you're going to find spine 4, you're going to find the neck, the head. I have no idea what the cod is. Animation attachment, I'm not going to worry about. Eyes don't have any type of a selection mechanism. so I'm not going to worry about eyes. There is no view target. And yeah, from there we'll just carry on, and now I'll go into time lapse and see what we can come up with. Okay, after going through, I found that this attachment right hand is probably the same as the weapon bone. So what I did is I added the constraint to the weapon bone. And basically, now that I've got this all done, let's go back and see what else he has to say. If you press play now, the Scout should walk just like the Combine. We're almost done. So let's just go through and have a quick look. And that's not looking too bad. There's a couple of things that need to be changed. And I think that's going to be his next step. It looks pretty good, as a matter of fact. Okay, we're almost done. To remove the Combine from the scene without messing up the soldier, you need to lock all of the Scout's bones you put constraints on by clicking the check boxes on their left. Once they're all locked, right-click the Scout's whole animation set and select Constraints, Remove Constraints. Okay, so now we got to go in here to the Scout. I didn't add any constraints to the fingers. I don't know if I should have. That might have helped fix up some of the problem that we have. But then again, I don't... it's hard to tell where one starts and one finishes. I don't really see any fingers on the Combine, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway. Okay, so we'll close down that. Now what we have to do is we have to come in here and we have to open up all these things. We put a constraint on the pelvis, the spine, the spine, the spine. Spine 3 is spine 4 on the Combine. The neck, the head, left collar, right collar, left upper arm, left lower arm, the hand, right arm group. Come on, lock up. Okay, left hip, knee, foot and toe, right hip, knee, right leg group. And the weapon bone, which is down here in unknown, or other rather. Now I didn't find anything on the Combine that matched up with any of the stuff that was down in the unknown for the Scouts. So I didn't match anything up. I didn't put any constraints down here. And one of the ways you can tell whether or not there's a constraint in place is when you added the constraint, it added another line to the bottom here. See? These are all the constraints that we added. No constraints on the face. Okay, now that we've got that all locked, once they're all locked, right-click on the Scout's whole animation and say select constraints, remove constraints. Click on the Scout, whole animation. constraints, remove constraints. Okay. You can now unlock the bones and delete the combine. Oh, gotta delete them one at a time. Okay, now there's no locks left on the Scout. I right click on the combine and select delete animation. And there he is gone. So, where did the Scout go? Oh, there's the Scout. And what's he going to do when we play him? Oh, he's going to walk away. And through the wall. So, basically, there you have it, in a nutshell, how to add a walking sequence to the Scout. Or, in fact, practically any animation set. And why is my camera rotating like that? Oh, that's why. Okay. Any animation set that you want to add from a different game or a different character to the character. Now, one last thing. Let's just check something here. If I click on the root transform, I'm not seeing any animation. However, if I click on the individual parts, I'm starting to see the animations. And this is, if you need to move anything or change anything, this is what you have to do. Cool. Well, hopefully this tutorial has been a benefit to you, and have fun with it. With that, Private Jack, out.